Welcome to Dr.M Wadcast, a wadcast with a mission, connecting continuous improvement professionals across the world.
You got it.
That's Bob Emiliani for you. And one of the things that you always see when you go to Bob's site was, or rather is, Ask Bob. So I said, let me start by asking Bob, Bob, who coined these terms? And I'm going to answer it, right?
Yep.
Lean behavior. Bob
yeah,
did.
that's right. Yep.
That was in 1998, peer-reviewed research paper of the same title. In that paper, he described the behavioral waste and how it impedes lean transformation. This was based on his research and study on lean leadership starting in 1994 and characterized the associated behavior. That's the first thing that he coined, the best I know. The rest he'll fill up. But here's another two terms that he introduced, the real lean and fake lean. Who introduced it? Bob did. And it's a simple way to distinguish between efforts, and that included or excluded the respect for people principle.
Yeah.
Bob, I'm just recollecting a memory. You did that.
Yeah.
There's another term that you introduced, lean industrial complex, to describe the business of lean. Look, Bob, I've did a lot of research on you ever since I met you in 2001.
Yeah, thank you.
2021. The other term that he introduced is, this is a new one that he introduced, neo-lean. That was probably last year.
Yeah.
To describe the current populistic form of lean management and junk lean, which describes the gap between management understood as a generic term to Toyota production system, and how lean is practiced in reality as popular problem solving 2024. But today he's going to talk about this sort of question, the statement.
I think there's many more of those terms. I haven't cataloged them all, but there's quite a few. I try to think up of these things, so.
You can fill me up.
You have done your research.
Yeah, because there are so many questions they want to ask you, because you keep asking them, ask Bob, so I just thought I will introduce these. So let's, this is what we're going to talk about. And as Bob said, it is a statement why you should focus on Kaizen. It's not a question. Let me do the standard work of, did his PhD in engineering from Brown University, and did his master's in chemical engineering. I wouldn't know why he moved out from mechanical engineering to applied mathematics to chemical engineering. Secret, untold, but probably somewhere down the line, you'll discover the chemistry that goes along with it. We know all of this. Engineer, researcher, author of many books of progressive management, teacher, educator, education reformist. 15 years hands-on experience, along with Toyota's experience. So that's what makes it more authentic. And then he moved on to the academic area, teaching graduates and undergraduates, and honorary title of Professor Emeritus. And you have authored 28 books, 40 peer reviews. And those of you who are not aware of peer reviews, is a severe test that you have. And it is research, and then you have to take everything that comes with it with your colleagues who are equally educated and knows everything into it. And it's the toughest job that you have, and you defend it. And that gives you the pride of having this PhD. And these are all the books that you have, the best I know.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering about the tag term, and I jokingly said before I recorded, the rate at which you write, and when I started reading your 3 books, and I did ring you up and said, I have not finished 15 pages. Bob, you've written the second book already. And I asked him humorously, how does your wife tolerate with it? They said she's got used to it. So, but then
Yeah.
here we go. This is what we're going to talk about. It's a total flow and there's no interruptions. So over to you. The first chapter as essays that Bob just, wherever I missed in introducing you, apologies for that. Go ahead, introduce, we have a recap and 13 odd questions from various countries that are passed on to you to answer that. And then we have an open session.
Yep.
And time is not a factor. So we just move on, flow. Go ahead.
Okay.
Bob, over to you.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think the, really, thank you for that introduction. It was great. Very thorough, very well researched. Yeah, just as far as my background, I mean, people are, I think, quite confused about what I do because on the one hand, I'm a very strong supporter of progressive management. And in doing so, I identify problems that exist with lean management, but I also have since, I don't know what, 2000, well, it goes back to 2007. Anyway, for the last 15 or 16 years, been working on this problem of why most leaders are not interested in progressive management, kind of throughout history, really, not just in recent times. And so people are like, well, are you for lean or against lean? What's going on? I don't understand you. And basically what I'm looking at is the arguments in favor of progressive management and the counter arguments against it. And the counter arguments are, formulated within the world of classical management. And it's really important to understand, what you're up against. And so and the books you see cover a lot of different subject areas. I posted that image on LinkedIn the other day, and some guy said, I'm confused because there's books that are in a general sense, topically similar, but also very different, management history, progressive management applied to higher education anyway. So people have a difficult time figuring me out, unfortunately. I don't think it's that big a mystery, but I guess it doesn't take much to confuse people. So the reason why we're here is to talk about why we should focus on Kaizen. And all of you had seen the, where is the, hang on a second, I'm looking for
the prelude.
A PDF file that I don't see here. That's interesting. We'll just use the PowerPoint file instead. That'll work. Let's see. So why should you focus on Kaizen? And you saw the prelude to this, which was the importance of Kaizen to the development of TPS in the Toyota way. So I put forth a hierarchy here that basically said what's most important is Kaizen. It's fundamental. It's the basics of understanding work and how to improve the work and so forth. And that we really need to think about, the sequence of how these things came about. And all of these things are important, of course, Kaizen, TPS, the Toyota way, and so forth. But sort of at the foundation, we have Kaizen. And what we see today is the so-called lean tools, which had their origins in Kaizen, were removed from that context and present separately outside of Kaizen. And what you, of course, don't see is companies moving forward with the so-called lean transformation because they're focused on the tools and not on the context which they came from, which was Kaizen. And so, if you practice Kaizen diligently, if you understand it and practice it well and so forth, you then create your own company's production system and your own way of doing things. And, many people within Toyota have said in the past, even Ono said it, that it's not just a production system, it's an overall management system. So while people refer to it as TPS, the P, production, the P means M, management system. So what does the lean tools really get you is what really seems to be what I call this, junk lean. You're just applying lean tools for kind of the everyday problems that you run into in a classically managed business. And you're forced to use the lean tools and not Kaizen because in most cases, the leaders of the business don't want so much change that comes from Kaizen, but they're okay with people using lean tools for sort of routine problem solving, but not really working towards the goal of material and information flow. And so the Kaizen tools really don't build much of anything. So as you saw in the prelude, that I distinguish between a type 1 and a type 2 lean, where of course type 2 lean produces some gains and some improvements and so forth, but nothing similar to what's achieved with type 1 lean. And we have extensive documentary records of the companies that are focused on Kaizen and the kinds of huge gains and huge changes, both technically, both in the processes and in the people that results from Kaizen. So what is the purpose of Kaizen? It's human development. We have all of this rationality that surrounds us all the time. I often tell the story of people in the companies that I used to work for. You had, like anywhere, very intelligent people with huge amounts of work experience and other people with college degrees and advanced degrees and so forth. And they ended up designing the worst possible way to do things, whether it's in HR or IT or manufacturing or whatever, and the most complicated and cumbersome way of doing things. And it's almost as if you gave somebody the instruction, figure out the worst way to do stuff. And there you go. And so we have all this irrationality and weird ways of doing things, and Kaizen is trying to help us correct all of that, and fundamentally is trying to correct our metaphysical foundation, our worldview that just accepts all this stuff as being the normal condition when it's actually the abnormal condition. And so, the lean tools don't really drive the kind of questioning that comes from learning Kaizen. And that kind of questioning is, whatever is wrong. And this is something that we learned from our senseis, that any process can be improved, and even if you think you've improved it, that still can be improved more and so forth. So there's always something wrong with it. So you always have the forefront in your mind of this critical thinking, which I hope you saw a post I did the other day about difference between critical thinking and scientific thinking. The critical thinking is always working from the standpoint of whatever is wrong. And that's not necessarily, could be, but not necessarily the same standpoint with scientific thinking. Scientific thinking can say whatever is right, and just wanting to know why it's right. So it doesn't necessarily question it from the same standpoint as whatever is wrong. And so yeah, there was a post the other day that spoke to this. What's the difference and why you should be aware of the difference, and why critical thinking is really what Kaizen is bringing forward. Now, of course, a lot of this depends upon, the senseis, the teachers that you have, the facilitators for Kaizen, and the wisdom that they have gained over the years. And there's many people who facilitate Kaizen that lack the wisdom to teach people who are participating in Kaizen to think critically. And so that is a problem in our world of progressive management, that many of the Kaizen facilitators don't possess the wisdom that you would hope that they would have. The other thing to observe is that people seem to love everything about Toyota, but not Kaizen. And to me, this has always been very, very strange situation. And if you read what these past leaders of Toyota have said about the importance of Kaizen, you look at Fujio Cho, past president and chairman of Toyota, and who was working directly for Taiichi Ohno. The one thing that makes Toyota different from other firms is that everybody understands there'll be no end to Kaizen efforts. And at Toyota, Kaizen is an unending process. All of us at Toyota share a commitment to this fundamental principle of the Toyota way. Fujio Cho says Kaizen must be practiced every day. And of course, many years ago, 35 or more years ago, this term Kaizen event popped up. And the word event made people think that this is something you do once in a while. Yet you have waste in your business is ever present. And in fact, in other training that I've done in the past, I show a picture of a dam, that holds back water. The dam has broken. And your business, you should think as a dam that's broken, where waste, unevenness, unreasonableness, irrationality, etc., is just flooding into your business every day. And if you're not doing Kaizen every day, you're just not making any progress respect to the break in the dam that you have. And then Akio Toyoda points out that once you make an improvement, you're not done, because the minute you've made a Kaizen, that becomes the old way of doing things. Henry Gantt in the early 1900s said the usual way of doing a thing is always the wrong way. So once you make a Kaizen improvement, pretty soon that becomes the usual way of doing things that's the wrong way. So with Kaizen, we work from the standpoint that whatever is wrong, and that can thus be improved. I think many people get a little bit annoyed with the sort of negative perspective that could come from Kaizen, but it serves as the motivating force to think about where the waste is, the unreasonableness, unevenness, the things that are unnecessary that are there that we just cannot yet see. But if you operate from the standpoint that we made an improvement, this is good, we're done, then you're in the whatever is right realm, and you don't make subsequent improvements. So finish one Kaizen, that begins the next Kaizen. And it should come as soon as possible. The other thing that's very bad about the way Kaizen has been treated over the years, generally speaking within lean world, is that Kaizen has been sort of brought down to the level of what people will accept. That's what's shown with the red arrow. You take Kaizen, and by Kaizen I mean Toyota-style Kaizen. So we'll use that as our frame of reference. And people take that and they dilute it, reduce it, change it, alter it to what people will accept. And that's no good. What we should be doing is elevating people's skills and knowledge, skills, and capabilities with Kaizen, not lowering Kaizen to the level of skill and capability that people presently have. So it's fundamentally, huge error has been made in just understanding Kaizen and the practice of Kaizen and so on. And it is unfortunate that not everybody can, have the experiences of being involved with these senseis with tremendous wisdom, 40, 50 years of experience, decades within Toyota or Toyota Group companies. It's not just Toyota. There's great examples of Kaizen being practiced in other companies such as Nissan and elsewhere, and things going on at General Electric, for example, what happened at Wire Mold, Virginia Mason Hospital, other companies we don't even know about. But it is, fortunate to have those kinds of experiences with those types of senseis. I would say the other thing too is, of course, this notion of Kaizen event and Kaizen blitz and Kaizen. I don't know, what else do people add to that? We just need to understand this is Kaizen and not add something to it. We also need to understand that this was an attempt a long time ago to express. It's an old graphic, but basically, Kaizen was the context within which you use so-called lean tools. I wouldn't refer to them as that within the Kaizen context, but anyway. Then sometime around 1997 to 1999, these lean tools were pulled out, and that then became the way to solve routine problems. And it's always been a mystery to me why kata is separate from Kaizen. With Kaizen, understood properly, done correctly, there's immense creativity that comes to the forefront that I often do not see as strongly associated with kata. Um, so, the workbook Learning to See began this trend of removing these tools from the context of Kaizen, which many of us learned TPS and toyed away without value stream maps. I mean, it just wasn't part of what we learned. What we were taught was how to see the ways and how to create flow, and we didn't need value stream maps to do that. Now, I'm not saying value stream maps aren't helpful to some people to begin to see what's going on with the processes and in a little bit bigger picture. But once you start to see that, you don't need to draw a value stream map for every darn thing. And that's what's happened is before people can make improvements in many, many companies, you have to first draw value stream maps. And that turned into the value stream mapping event. What did that turn into? That turned into, a group of people in a conference room for 5 days, drawing current state maps and future state maps. Recently, it's my understanding that people don't even draw future state maps anymore. They just draw current state maps and fix problems, use the current state map to fix problems within the current state. So they don't ever get, there's never a future state. It's just correcting some problems within the current state. And part of why that happens is because the leaders in some of these companies won't let people create a future state. They just want to fix the problems in the current state, the routine problems. So, so this was a big deal that this happened in the late 1990s, and it has really thrown things off course, in my opinion. 1988 was also a very important year. Tomorrow, I will post an announcement on LinkedIn that describes what's coming up, because next Monday through Thursday, you're going to see one post today that presents some of the training material from this 1998 Kaizen Institute training for Kaizen, delivered by Masaki Amai and others, as well as Shingijutsu just-in-time TPS seminar delivered by Yoshiki Iwata, Akio Takanaka, and Chihiro Nakao. And I'll be presenting substantial portions of this training, not the entire amounts, but substantial portions. And of course, those folks, Kaizen Institute, Shingijutsu, and so forth, they, over the decades, have stayed true to TPS and Kaizen. And then in 1988, a few months later, in November, October, November of 1988, came the term lean production to the world through this paper that John Krafchick wrote. I wrote a blog post recently called The 15 Joys of Kaizen, and the folks at Kaizen Made Easy put it into an infographic. So thank you very much for doing that. But this is the kind of experience that I and others have had. Again, some of this depends upon the facilitator and their experience and the wisdom that they've gained over the years. But these are the kind of benefits that you get from this. And it really all starts with number one, critical thinking, because that's what leads to recognizing the challenge that's in front of you. That's how you begin to realize you have more intelligence than you think you have, that you're able to solve problems that are more difficult than you think you're able to solve. That then gets you in the direction of creating flow. To do that, you need real teamwork, working with people. To do that, you need to try things out, because you cannot predict which potential solution will work. So you have to try them all out. And then through that, you're now creating, inventing, testing, and improving. You're doing your experimentation. You're learning and developing wisdom of how things work and don't work. And then you're also developing know-how through craftsmanship. So it's more than just learning. It's know-how, the ability to do things, such as to create a Kanban system, such as to create a flow line, such as to such as to do, mistake poke yoke and so forth. And then, of course, in doing this, you're helping other people because they're struggling to do their work. And some of them, of course, are engaged in this Kaizen activity. You have from that great satisfaction, the joy of having done wonderful things. You've had fun doing it, and you have achievements that you can be very proud of. But it all starts with critical thinking. And this is a really important point, and it has gotten lost over the years. So I think we'll stop with sharing with those for the moment. There's a couple more that I want to share, but I think that'll be part of the answering some of the questions.